Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where your wish is my command. Last week, I was working from home one day and got up to use the bathroom and made a cup of coffee. Took 10 minutes tops. I get back to my computer to a bunch of messages from my boss getting increasingly nasty about something and why I wasn't answering quick enough for her. I send a message back with whatever it was she needed to know and apologizing for not getting back to her soon enough. When she finally answered me about half an hour later, she said if I'm not going to be at my computer for any amount of time, I need to send an email to everyone in my office, including high-level executives, that I'll be unavailable for X amount of time and why. So that's what I've been doing. My normal phrasing for this message is, "Hi, I'll be unavailable from this time to this time as I'm going to use the bathroom / make some coffee, etc." Every single person in my office has told me it's fine and I don't need to tell them when I'm going to be gone for a few minutes, where I then forward them the original exchange between me and my boss and apologize, but say this is what my direct report has told me to do and this is the result if I don't. They all hate her as much as I do now. OP, clearly the solution here is to convince everyone else in the office that they need to start doing that as well. Cause then when you get emails about potty breaks for every single person in the office, then pretty soon everyone's gonna start to despise your boss. Our next Reddit post is from Much Beef. So this just happened today at school, so it's still fresh in my mind. We were in algebra and we're taking a test. The teacher was out of the classroom for a bit and someone asked me for the answers. Now, I had secretly hated this kid for almost a year because he had destroyed my $210 phone and only paid me back $20 and said, "Hopefully this will be enough for a screen protector." So anyways, it turned out he had skipped a question. So he accidentally had about 75% of the questions answered in the wrong box, making them all wrong. He asked me to erase them for him so he could copy my answers because his arm hurt. I was just about done with mine, so I finished it and erased his. But instead of giving him my answers, I turned my paper in. He now had 5 to 10 minutes to answer about 30 questions. The teacher then walked back in while he was pleading with me and asked what was going on. I told him that David was trying to copy my answers. No regrets. Then we had this contribution from Texas Aggie down in the comments. 2 funny cheating stories. 1, when in high school, there was an annoying kid who would try to cheat off of me. I would purposefully answer every question incorrectly, allow him to copy the incorrect answers, wait for him to turn his exam in, and then erase all of my incorrect answers and put in the correct answers before I turned my exam in. He got multiple zeros and would still try to copy off of me. 2, when I was in college, I was on the football team at Texas A&M. One day at lunch in Kane Hall, Athletic Dining Hall, one of our tight ends was complaining because he had been caught cheating on an essay. He had copied another essay word for word, including the other student's name, the day before the NFL draft, in which he was projected as a 3rd round pick. He was arrested in the parking lot of the Kyle Field stealing hubcaps. When his car was searched, the university police found over 5,000 ecstasy tablets and some cocaine. He wasn't drafted. Imagine losing out on a multi-million-dollar athletics contract because you can't keep your stuff together for 1 semester. Our next Reddit post is from Evil Hound. I'm not sure if this belongs in petty revenge or malicious compliance, for there's a little of both. So sorry if this has been put in the wrong place. Either way, I've enjoyed my malicious revenge / compliance, so I hope you do too. For the past few years, our business has been receiving telemarketing calls from an offshore call center trying to make appointments for Optus Business Center. Every time they call, we'd politely tell them we're not interested and to remove us from their list, and they'd promise not to call again. You can probably tell by my use of the words every time that having ourselves removed from the list didn't work. It didn't work the first time, and it didn't work the 50th time. Offshore are cheap and get paid per appointment, so they would get quite aggressive. It was clear that a new strategy needed to be found as it was taking too long to get them to bugger off. So I began my campaign of malicious compliance / petty revenge. "Hi, we're calling from Optus Business Center and we can save you 40% on your mobile phone bill. Can we come and see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.? You can save me 40% of my phone bill? That's like 60 grand a month. What? how many phones do you have? 150 or so that I'm responsible for directly, plus a few others. The appointment is quickly confirmed. The next day, a salesman calls me up and he's running early. Can we meet earlier? I refused. Our appointment is for 11 a.m. after all. 11 a.m. rolls around and in he walks. We sit down in reception and go through the greetings. I then ask him if it's possible to make the telemarketing calls stop now. He assures me that it is, and so I stand up, shake his hand, and thank him for coming in. What? That's it? You could have said that over the phone. I point out that we did many times and it didn't work. And I hope that this waste of time, 45 minutes trips from Homebush to Sydney, would perhaps teach him to mend his ways. Over the past 2 years, they've sent out 5 different reps to see us. They call for meetings, we accept them, shine them on about the value of the account, and they roll in to be greeted by me dressed in a chicken suit, made to wait in our meeting room for 20 minutes before being asked to be removed from the list, and being turned away at the door. They sent 2 reps that time. I'm posting this today because it was visit number 6, and it was the best yet. We got a repeat customer. I sat him down in the meeting room and played the video recording of our last meeting. I say, "Is that you?" "Yes, it is me. Didn't I follow up? Did we have a good meeting?" I pointed out that I certainly enjoyed our last meeting and zoomed forward in the video to the part where I explained that we didn't have 500 mobile accounts and he needed to please remove us from their list, and you could see his heart break. Which it did again once he realized that whatever account he thought was being discussed today was not going to be discussed. Which we also have on video, so we can all go inception if and when he shows his face again. And he wasn't kidding about the chicken suit. Here's a picture of OP in an honest-to-God chicken suit that he wears to these meetings. And OP, if you're out there, please share this video with me. I would love to showcase that video on my channel. Our next Reddit post is from Cricket Rocks. So I'm a business consultant, and usually during the week we're at a client site and get paid for travel, meals, etc. The meal reimbursement policy is quite flexible and doesn't limit what we can claim, like some of the other consulting companies. So we can claim lunch, alcohol, whatever. The policy, however, does lay down a guidance for a daily limit for food expenses based on the country where you're traveling. I capitalized the word guidance since that is exactly how it's written in the policy. It's a guidance, not a hard limit. For the UK, where my current project is, the limit is £40 per day, which is mostly okay, but can be a bit low if you're in the center of London, for example. Now, I do intermittent fasting, so most of the days I don't have breakfast and lunch and just have one big meal a day, and have no problems keeping to the 40 pounds, usually around 20. On some days, I might go to a fancy restaurant, have a couple of scotches with a steak, and run up a $60 bill. But during the course of a 5-day week, my average meals would run about 30 pounds a day, if not less. I've never had a problem claiming these expenses in my 9 years with the firm. But recently, a new project manager, Reed Bean Counter, came on board, and he sent back a couple of my expense reports for having meal expenses in excess of the 40 pounds for a couple of days, even though the average meal expense over the week was much less than 40 pounds. I tried to reason with him, told him that anyway, it was a guidance and not a hard limit, and I was keeping the cost down on other days. He refused to budge and said I could only claim 40 pounds a day for food. So guess what? I started doing exactly that. Every day, I made sure I was claiming 40 pounds or thereabouts of food. I started buying meals for the homeless people around the train station to make sure I could make up the 40 pounds. So now, where I was claiming less than 150 pounds a week for meals, I now claim 200 pounds and get some good karma for it. Then we have a similar story from Detection down in the comments. I went through the same thing a couple of years ago, but ours has limits on one meal per day. For example, $15 for breakfast, $20 for lunch, and $30 for dinner. Most of the team would usually skip breakfast and have cheap lunch on the go and have a nice dinner. So depending where you are, it wouldn't be shocking to see something like this. $0 breakfast, $7 lunch, $45 dinner. We all got slapped on the wrist pretty hard a couple of months in a row. So we all started maxing every meal, even if it meant spending a little over and paying out of pocket, and even maxing breakfast at gas stations on road snacks. After a little while, the rules were updated to give us a soft day limit for meals. They say there's no such thing as a free meal, but in this case, I think this is an exception to the rule. Our next Reddit post is from a Dreezonator. This might be a rarity for this sub, as I'm the one who had the malicious compliance done to by someone else, but I had to respect it and thought it was worthy for this subreddit. I own an escape room company in a town which borders a pretty touristy area and is very close to an airport. As such, we tend to get a lot of bookings from people all over the UK who are visiting the area for the weekend, or international people coming to do an escape room on the way to the airport. We only take online bookings and don't take walk-ins, therefore the site is only really manned whenever we have bookings. As such, our cancellation policy is that we only allow refunds if the cancellation is more than 24 hours before the scheduled start time. If it's 2 to 24 hours before the start time, we can only reschedule the booking. Now, it's worth mentioning that for the majority of cases, weekdays, we are pretty relaxed with our policy as long as it doesn't cause any big issues, and try our best to accommodate a group, as usually I'm the one hosting them, so there's not any additional expenses on our part, i.e. staff wages or loss of income from other potential customers. However, the only day where this policy is really relevant is on Saturday, where we are almost always entirely booked from morning to night and have staff members working for us. So any canceled slots would most likely have been filled by other customers, and we are of course still paying our staff for that time. Although I must say, we've only ever had to enforce this policy a couple of times, as we can usually accommodate a group in some shape or form. Now on to the malicious compliance. So I get a call earlier today from a gentleman with a thick Scottish accent that was scheduled to come in with his group around 2.5 hours from the time of the call. The group said that they would be unable to make their booking as they were running late with some other activities or something like that, and asked to reschedule the booking for a later slot. I checked her schedule, but didn't have any slots left for today in any of our rooms. He then asked for a refund as they would be returning back to Glasgow tonight and didn't know when they would be down here again. I told him our policy and that our system only allows reschedules instead of refunds due to the time frame, and explained that given that it's a Saturday, we can't refund so close to the time as staff has been arranged, slot would have been booked, etc, etc. Rescheduling wouldn't have worked for them as they wouldn't be in the area anytime soon. After a short pause, he asked if we had any free slots to schedule for next month. I checked the system and offered to move the booking to the same time on the 16th of November, to which he said, "Yeah, I think that works." I changed the time on the system and informed him he would get an email confirming the new time slot. He replied, "Great, so the booking is more than 24 hours away now, right?" I said, "Yes, it's booked 4 weeks from today." He said, "Right, so the booking is more than 24 hours away. I won't be able to make it. Can I have a refund?" I paused for a second, trying to process what had just happened in my head, and realized that he had found a loophole in the system. Technically, his booking was more than 24 hours away, so he's technically entitled to a refund. I started laughing and congratulated him on beating the system as I processed his refund. So basically, this guy found the hidden exit to your escape room. That was r/maliciouscompliance, and if you want to maliciously comply, hit that like button, because that gives the YouTube algorithm the warm and fuzzies and helps share my video to other YouTube viewers.